We're going to call the January 6th, 2025 Emmaus Borough Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. We're going to start off here with our vacant council seat interviews. The first person up is Neil Valos.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Podium mic is all the way up. Okay.
Perfect.
How are you, Neil?
I'm all right. And yourself?
All right. Just make sure you talk into the microphone so that way they can hear you at home. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for applying and your interest, Neil. We're going to go through, there are we got 5 applicants. We're going to give you each about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll go back and forth. And I guess how we'll start it out is, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go around the room and ask some questions.
Okay. So my name is Neil Valois, 4-year resident, coming up on 4-year resident in Emmaus. I come from New York, but I also do have a background in a smaller town when I lived in Virginia for 5 years. I'm bilingual. I have spent several years in law enforcement, private investigations. I've taken a lot of time in security. I volunteer in ministry. I've even taken some time to coach the flag football team here in Emmaus. Apart from that volunteer work, I've also volunteered with the Guardian Angels in New York and in San Diego, a few other places. I did this because I was always told to serve. I didn't serve in the military. I wanted to, but that opportunity wasn't possible for me. So I figured out other ways to do so, which is why I'm here.
Thank you. We'll start out with, you want to start out?
Can I run through mine quick?
Absolutely.
All of them?
We'll start out with Councilman Lavenberg.
Well, you answered the first one already. How long have you lived in the borough?
Okay.
If it wasn't for the tax increase, would you still be applying? And if so, why?
The tax increase was what forced me to do so now. This was an idea that I was floating around with my wife for some time. We were always trying to figure out how to get more involved in the community. I fell in love with Emmaus mostly because of my wife. When I was looking at other places to move into when I moved there, she told me don't move anywhere else. I don't want to name other towns to bash anybody, but she said Emmaus is where you're going to feel comfortable. And while it was different, I did start to appreciate it while I was doing my patrols with the Emmaus Park Police. When I was coaching these little kids, as interesting as that situation was, having them chase a ball around, it really showed me that what Emmaus has to offer is definitely something I want my kids to experience here. So yes, I was going to get involved. I just didn't know exactly which route I was going to take.
Tell me what you researched about the borough and its operations since you decided to apply for the councilperson position.
I researched, well, I'll answer it this way. What I learned was it's a lot more complex than I thought. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. When I think of borough councils and politics in general, my mind automatically defaults to my experience in New York. And it's very loud, it's very different. And one thing I noticed that was similar is a lot of people are reactionary and don't have all the facts. And when they do, they want to make a decision on a very short time frame, most of the time because it was heard from someone else. Same way we do with movies, same way we do with restaurant recommendations. But what I learned was that Emmaus is doing a really good job. And even some of my own criticisms that I've had, I have learned, and even going back into some of the old agendas, you guys are actually addressing some of these issues. So that's what I learned in my research.
Thank you. What would you have done differently if you were on council after hearing what happened last meeting?
I feel the only thing I would have done differently was been a little louder with the residents in terms of explaining to them what's going on, a little um, more, not transparent, but being more visible is the word I'm looking for. I was aware of it through certain people speaking, but that wasn't the real reason I showed up to that meeting. Um, but I do understand why it infuriated a lot of people. My main concern was I understand my landlord's gonna have to make some adjustments when my lease renews, but that wasn't the motivator. My real motivator was the water situation, and I know I've spoken with some members before about that. And I'm naturally curious. I've been a private investigator. I've been a sworn law enforcement officer. I'm naturally curious to learn more.
What are you most excited about this seat?
I'm most excited about being able to work with my neighbors differently. When I initially met people here, it was mostly through my wife because she says hi to everybody. So I've been stealing those skills from her. I naturally will talk to you if you talk to me, but I've been learning to love my neighbors and learn from them. I've also been trying to force my children to do the same. And that's also what helped me appreciate Emmaus a lot more too. Not just from them being upset that I gave them a parking ticket, but that I'm here for them as well.
What are you most worried about?
What I'm most worried about is miscommunication. That's what I'm most worried about. There's times where you can give somebody all the facts, and their reality might not be in line with how you see things. And something else I'm also worried about is timing, how much time we have to get the work done.
If you're not selected tonight, will you still take the time to file the proper paperwork and get the proper signatures to be on the ballot this year?
Yes, that is my intentions.
And then my last question is, are you registered to vote? You know, I don't want to know party because at this level, we really don't care. But are you registered to vote?
Yes, and I've voted every time since living here.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lavenberg. So I do see your person of the parks, and I've volunteered many times in hours in the parks and system. And I see that was one of your ideas of how to raise revenue. Besides the parks, what do you foresee that we could change or do? And if you're part of this, what would your agenda be?
As far as bringing in revenue, I really want to champion the small businesses in downtown. One thing I've noticed, and I'm guilty of this too, when I want to go on a date night with my wife, I go somewhere else. But the food's actually not bad here anymore. But I feel like, as you see in my resume, I am super excited about all the possibilities and ideas with the park. Even when I was working there, I used to think of different things that would pop into mind. But the small business owners here are really great. From when I was patrolling here, when I was with the parks, or even when I'm going to get a haircut or when I'm getting my breakfast sandwiches from Dave's, these people are amazing. And I would love for people in Allentown, people in Macungie, people everywhere else to come over here and spend their dollars here to champion these people as well.
By the way, Dave's has a nice morning breakfast bagel.
Yeah, they,
Just saying. So besides that, and we do many different things, obviously, as you heard, and you said about water. So what is your take on the water and what we're doing or not doing? Is there anything that you feel we should be more proactive with?
So I'll start with an apology first because I'm guilty of, I was slightly ignorant to the situation. When I first got the notice of the water, we love our water filters and we drink water. I probably not as much as I should, but it was a little annoying because I'm one of those guys that runs the water long in the shower. So now I'm thinking, okay, this is not good for me. It's on my skin, it's on my hair, it's on when we boil a pasta. So I was very frustrated and I immediately assumed that the borough wasn't doing anything. When I look back at some of and thankfully you guys put it all on YouTube, going back into it, I did see this was addressed a few times. And even though one of the letters I did receive them pretty delayed, I do understand that the attempt was there. I don't know at this time what I would do differently after learning that our borough manager actually is going to the meetings and talking to EPA. In my mind, I was thinking maybe we find somebody to declare a state of emergency so FEMA could step in. I was just all over the place, but that was my main concern. but I do understand from the outside looking in, I was a little misconstrued.
I appreciate that you're doing the research. Thank you for saying that and that. So I'm good for now. I'll pass off to Miss Watson. Miss Watson, Mrs. Watson.
So the reason we're here today is that Mr. Honshai didn't really estimate the time commitment of the position appropriately. Are you aware what the position pays?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And how many hours a month are you available to be there for meetings, reading the literature?
Being that it is in a short time frame and a lot of work to do, my family and I have already committed to as many hours as needed. My line of work is actually very flexible now. I'm no longer a first responder. I'm not on call for anything really other than my children's health. And those, whatever I do for work, I can shift over to a London session, to overnight session. I can make the adjustments where it's needed so I could be as much value as I can.
So raising revenue is great, but I'm concerned that without some changes, we are going to be in a very similar position in 2025 of having to raise taxes. Do you have any areas you would explore to reduce expenses in the borough?
I did see you guys really try to find where to cut these expenses from. I did like the idea. I believe you mentioned at the last meeting about partnering with local municipalities. I honestly don't know exactly how that would work, but I recall as far as how they do things everywhere else, I'm worried more about chain of command. I'm more worried about effectiveness. Even in working with the campus police, I've learned from retired state troopers how tedious, how difficult it is to communicate with the county to get things done on the borough level and on the town level. So I am curious to explore that, and that is something that I'm super looking forward to, if given the opportunity, super looking forward to learning more about and seeing who we have to talk to. But as far as some of the other ideas I had was to do an energy and utility audit. Um, and the one I really, really want to focus on is lobbying. I feel like we need to make a bigger effort to show our residents who to contact. And if they have to blast, if given an opportunity, if they have to blast my emails with letters for me to bring over to Senator Miller or Representative Schreier, I'll do so. Whatever it takes to show to show the other lawmakers that our residents, our neighbors are hurting, help us cut these costs.
Thank you.
As you may know, every council member sits on 3 committees. And I was curious to know if you've looked into the committees that we have and which ones were of interest to you and what speaks to your skills specifically.
So I am open to wherever I would be needed, but I did learn recently that Parks and Rec needs a lot of help, and I would love to help with that as well. My background in public safety is something I would love to help in a committee with that too, or community relations. I initially am awkward in front of people, but once I get warmed up, I gladly will do whatever's necessary to talk, to get in front of the right people, to hear everybody out. So as far as the committees go, whatever is needed, I'll adjust my schedule accordingly, and my wife and my kids all support it as well.
What do you think are your strongest characteristics that would be important for this particular role?
Over the last few years, I've developed empathy. This isn't something I've always had, but I believe that is my strongest characteristic now. I am able to put myself in the shoes of people, even those I disagree with, and there are a lot of people I disagree with, but I can put myself in their shoes, see their reality, see their perspective. And I believe that's the best way I could be their liaison and represent them.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Lavenberg asked probably the same questions I had, so.
So, Neil, thanks. The only thing I would have is you talk about communication and being able to reach out to our residents and communicate a little bit more. What would be your ideas that would be the best way to communicate with people?
I believe we need to leverage social media a lot more. I'm not a fan of using it other than consuming it, not creating. But I do believe that we can leverage social media to communicate a lot better. And it also has everything documented. These are things that we can address. There's many ways to go about it, but there's ways you can address people's concerns, and not just from a Facebook group where everyone's upset, but where people are seeing the events going on, where people are seeing the ribbon cuttings, where people are seeing, Zumbas at the park, just letting them know that we're active. Because I do believe the residents, and I was one of them, believe there's a they believe it's lack of action going on. And after doing my homework, I'm realizing we're sorely mistaken.
Thank you for that. Anyone
ju-
else?
Can I just ask, do you follow our Facebook page?
I do.
Anyone else have any questions?
I'll just ask the one. How many borough council meetings have you attended over your time living here in the borough?
In person, this will be my third. Over Zoom, quite a few, especially the ones where I was either getting hired or my resignation was put on.
Okay.
Any further questions from council members?
When you say you watched them on Zoom, you watched the replays of them or you watched them live?
The replays.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. So on this council, you would be one vote of 7. And so there's a need to be able to collaborate and communicate with people of different backgrounds and different political parties. As Mr. Labenberg said, it's not so much about political parties at this level. But my curiosity is just how do you see yourself in that, in your ability to be able to broach those kinds of differences and be able to communicate with colleagues?
I'm very comfortable with agreeing to disagree. This is also something I use when volunteering to minister at church. There are times where I ask to speak to people with completely different beliefs, and you have to meet them halfway. And I'm not going to lie to them and tell them, you know what, you're right, I believe you. But I will say, I see where you're coming from. Let's try to communicate more and find some common ground, because my mind can be changed. But that's how I would always try to find consensus, really. That's all I can do. I have to understand that I'm not always right. My biggest tool, honestly, is research. Is social media. It's like, we have social media, we have the internet, we have AI. There's so many ways to do research to see how you're better informed, and add that to what the residents are saying and with what's realistic.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, Neil, this will conclude your interview and we'll move on to our next.
I do have a question, though, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, what would be something the council is looking for that seat that would be valued? What are you guys looking for in the person being appointed?
Go ahead.
Oh, it's just honesty and we like to debate the issues. We may disagree, but we'll ask questions. We will try to sway each other with our debate, and then we take a vote, and whatever end you are on that, we just move on, and you have to be able to do that.
I appreciate that.
Can I answer that? For me, it's 2 things. One is you have to be a good listener. That's what our role is, really, is to listen and do our best with the information that we have. And so it's good to hear that you're willing to take information and change your mind and consider other views, because that, I think, is critical of anyone who is in an elected position. And 2, I think, would be willing to learn, willing to ask the questions. On council, we have people from different backgrounds with different numbers of years as residents, with different histories in the community. And that all helps to influence what kind of questions they ask, what perspectives they share. So anyone who has a different perspective is somebody that I think is appealing, because then it adds to our conversations and our debates.
Of course.
So I'm going to steal from something Mr. Pepe told me when I started many years ago. And that was just do your research and vote with data that's driven, not just with your emotions. And that would be what I'm looking for, someone to fill the position who's going to do those things.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up on our list is Sarah Dagnall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll start off by first speaking a little about myself. Come March, I will have been a resident of Emmaus for 2 years. When the weather allows it, I run 6 to 8 miles around Emmaus. Many people have probably seen me running in Emmaus. My fiance and his family have been here for over 30 years. Originally, I came from a small farm in New Jersey, in Pittstown, New Jersey, located between Clinton and Flemington. Not many people know where that is. For the last 3 years, I've worked as a county caseworker for children and youth services in Berks County, Lehigh County, and now Northampton County, which is why I'm passionate about the youth of the youths and children and families in our area. What I've noticed working as a county caseworker is there's a homeless crisis in Lehigh County. Now, I know that being on the city council won't allow me to solve the homeless crisis, but I will do everything in my power to keep it from getting worse. And if I can decrease the problem, that would be a dream come true. But there's an affordability crisis. I do want to cut spending wherever I can. I'm interested in learning more about the budget, trying to learn where we can make more cuts. That way we can keep Emmaus affordable. I moved out of New Jersey because I knew I could not live there. I would never be able to afford it. The life that I have in Emmaus, I could not afford in New Jersey. I don't want to see Pennsylvania, Emmaus, and other beautiful places go down the same path of being completely unaffordable. And I have seen too many families not be able to afford their homes.
Thank you. Start out.
Somewhere different.
What's that?
You want to start on that side this time?
Questions?
Sure, I'll kick it off. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us tonight. Real brief. Again, Mr. Lavenberg already asked some of these questions, but I'll just, how many borough council meetings have you attended over your time living here in the 2 years?
I've only attended one, and that was the last one that
Okay.
I had considered getting involved in the city local government before, but the tax increases and my concerns about it affecting homelessness and making homelessness worse really pushed me to want to do something.
Wonderful, yeah. Each candidate has 1 or 2 topics that they are focused on. What other areas of the borough are needed to be addressed?
We need to address the water. I am extremely concerned about that. And besides homelessness, which I spoke about, affordability, because I am worried about long-term residents being able to afford to stay here.
With the issue with water, a lot of Mr. Neal talked about, you know, we have a lot of, we don't have much flexibility at the borough. We have to lobby people.
I understand that. I'm interested in learning more on how to fix the water problem. If it comes to a problem not having money, we could charge more for vendors out the farmers market to raise money to replace the entire water system, and perhaps replacing the entire system is what we need to do, which I know is going to be expensive, and we can look out ways to raise the money to do that. But if that's what's going to solve the problem, it's what's going to solve the problem.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, what are the most important issues that are facing Emmaus in your mind, aside from the
Well, what
issues you already identified?
From what I've seen, it is affordability and the water. I'm on the Facebook pages. I see what people post constantly. Today, there was concerns about the price of the trash going up. And again, I'm not on the Emmaus, on the city council, so I don't know what negotiation was done to prevent trash prices from going up substantially, but it is a concern and an expense. I'm more than willing to look out other trash companies and contract with them if they're going to be cheaper for residents. So I think that is something we need to consider if we're going to try to keep the town affordable.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to do any research or background knowledge or check the videos of past meetings?
So I did look out the 2024 budget. I couldn't find the 2025 budget listed, but I do have some questions about what money is being spent. Also, I disagree with how much the borough manager is making. To me, that is an ridiculous salary that should be more in the 60 grand range, not close to the 90 grand range. That's the false complaint that I have. The other thing is I was looking at the budget and I saw money was spent on GPS when I don't know if it's because GPS is on in town vehicles, but everyone has a GPS in their phone. Why are we spending money on that? So I had some questions on why money is being spent on certain things. And I would love those questions to be answered.
So those questions are great questions. And if you want to ask them, you can do that at public comment, like after the whole part, and we could absolutely address those, but we won't answer them during your interview, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
And so coming on to council and having doing a little bit of research on your own so far, what do you think is something that you personally want to grow in knowledge about in terms of what's happening on?
Definitely the water situation. I want everyone here to have clean, safe drinking water.
Mhm. And that's something you want to learn more about?
Yes.
Okay. We have several committees, as I mentioned, and each of us sits on 3 committees. Do you know much about the committees that we have and which ones were of interest to you?
I'm interested in wherever I'm needed. I'm a fast learner, so I will learn very quickly all about the committees out this time. I don't know that much about them, but I can learn quickly, and I will dedicate myself to doing what I can on the committees to try and improve the town for everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys have anything?
What are you most excited about running for or applying for the seat?
I'm most excited about the opportunity to help people make a difference in the small community and if possible, try and make the community more affordable, prevent from becoming unaffordable. And so that's what I'm looking the most forward to doing.
And how do you imagine you're going to do that?
Again, cutting spending where I can and trying to bring in more income to the city, such as charging more for the farmers market, the vendors, charging more there. Maybe even charging slightly more sales tax to lower the property tax.
I don't want to be rude or anything, but we're not a city, we're a borough, just so you know.
Yeah.
All right. And if it wasn't for the tax increase, would you still be running or for applying?
I'd be great. I would be considering it, yes, because of the homelessness that I've seen.
So
throughout
if
the
we didn't
area.
have a tax increase, you would be here now.
The tax increase is what pushed me. I might have held on for a couple more years.
Okay. And if you don't make it tonight, will you take the time to file the proper paperwork and get this proper signatures?
I am planning on it, yes.
All right. And are you registered to vote? I don't need to know party or anything.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
So you mentioned affordability. What is the affordability of Emmaus? I'm just kind of curious. What is not affordable and what is?
So what's not affordable is people people paying $2,000 in rent and the salary is meager and they can barely afford to get by. They can pay the rent, but then they can't buy food. They can't afford their utilities. That's being unaffordable. Struggling just to make the basic bills paid. And a lot of people are really struggling with that. I've seen many people who they can't pay the heating, they can't pay trash, they can't pay this, they can't pay that. People being able to pay their utilities is affordability.
Okay, so how does a borough council change that?
So like I said, with the trash, that's something that we can try to negotiate with the different trash company perhaps.
But you do realize that trash is a bid, right? And we
I know it's a bid, but that we can still look out dig into it and try find out who will charge our residents less. So that way the trash bill is less for our residents.
Okay.
I would say
I'm
there's
gonna
prob-
pass. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's
fine.
probably been over half a dozen public meetings that we had that consisted of how the bid process works out. We had 5 or 6 different bidders come in, and this literally was the best option.
We actually
1.2
locked
million
in our
a
rate
Yeah,
for
it
the
was
next 4 years also.
$1.2
for our
million
residents.
cheaper than our next option. I assure you that
But
the outcome of the
right.
garbage.
I mean,
was
that's something
best
that
case
you'll learn
scenario.
as being if you were the person here, you do learn that. I would just strongly suggest, a little research with that. And I guess that would be my next question is, besides that, what other research have you done about the current status of Emmaus?
I've listened to people, I've talked to people throughout the town, try to find out their concerns, and again, the primary concerns are affordability and the wardle.
Okay, thank you.
Are you aware of the salary of this position?
Yes, I am.
And how many hours a month do you have to put towards meetings, doing the reading?
So my current job is 8 to 4. There are emergencies that do come up, and sometimes I get held up at work. I am aware of that, but I am willing to put for the hours that I'm not working. And in all honesty, since I grew up on a small farm, I started working full time at 18, and at that point, I was working basically 2 jobs my whole life, doing the farm work and the other jobs I was working.
So as you heard me ask, I believe we'll need to significantly cut expenses if we're to avoid another increase like the one of this year. Is there a particular area of a service the borough provides that you would look to save money in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range?
So I would start looking at some salaries like the borough manager who was making about 90 grand, which in my opinion is ridiculous when a lot of people with the same education are only getting 60 grand.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none. Sarah, do you have anything specific for us?
No.
That concludes your interview.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Spencer Steele.
Good evening.
Thank you. Same format as the others. If you want to just let us know a little bit about yourself to start it off, and we'll go around the room.
Sure. My name is Spencer Steele. I have been in the borough for 8 years, originally from California, and that is probably scary to most people. But maybe I'm not the Californian you're thinking, or maybe I am. I don't know. With that, I actually moved here for a job at Lutheran Church of the Holy Spirit, which is right by the high school. And since then, my job has been people, because I have a love of people and a desire to make sure that people are cared for, respected, and honored. After that initial 4 years, I've now moved to a different congregation, which is actually in Nazareth. So the connection to community organizations has actually grown. So my trip now takes me away from the city, but still here primarily. I have 2 kids who are the number one reason I'm actually here tonight, because they are the future that I want to build. And when I look at what's going on, and yes, I was here for the tax increase. That was my initial response and my initial desire to come and participate in the meeting, because that was shocking to hear. Listening to you guys, I understood more of where you come from and why you made those decisions. But I do still think that there needs to be cuts in the future as things are going, because taxes only go up. Pricing houses only goes up. Costs go up. Food costs go up. Everywhere you look, people are charged more for their life, and price and the cost of what people are earning has not gone up. So there's issues there that I see that will need to be addressed. What the answer to that is, it's difficult. I mean, there are people who are definitely vital to this borough running. The hard part is we all have expenditures we have to make and costs we have to make, but then there are things that we have to sacrifice that we would like to desire in all of our lives and in all of our homes, and the government is no different. I think that's more than fair. Other things about me, though, because I'm kind of pre-answering questions I've heard already. Sorry about that. But other things about me, I deeply love Emmaus. I got here, as I said, 8 years ago. I lived in apartment complexes for for 4 years of that time. As the prices went up, was able to purchase a home, and I'm hoping to be there as my, maybe not forever home, but most of my life home, with a place where I raise my children and build a family and a life. I want to see Emmaus succeed. I want to see the people of this city succeed. I've come to know business owners and people who work in the businesses in this area. I love my neighbors. And I want to make sure that people aren't pushed down by cost or by lack of service or any of these issues. I'll answer the questions that I remember, but if you guys want to just go for it from there.
Anybody want to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Go ahead, Bryce.
This one. So you mentioned cuts. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, what type of cuts do you foresee or do you feel is over the top?
Again, I wonder about some of the things that we do have. I know that the government runs off of bids. So you have bids you put out, and if you go into that next round, the bids will all be higher than they initially were. So you try to go for the lowest bid as quickly as you can. But there are areas that I have questions on. The leaf service pickup, the way that we do these things. Do I have an exact answer? No, but I do think that there are things that aren't necessarily the top priority that could be shifted away from. And that's a
So
cost.
You just mentioned leaf service. I'm just kind of curious. What do you foresee there? Because I'm kind of what's
So again, I've been talking to my neighbors quite a bit about this. And one of my neighbors has lived in Emmaus his entire life. He remembers there was a period of time where you would go to the local store, you would get your bags for leaf pickup or yard waste pickup. You would purchase them. That cost was there in that for part of the city. And that was a system that eventually was done away with. And I wonder why something along those lines couldn't exist, where the city is charging us.
that does exist, sir.
Okay, so the
we
bags I buy from Home Depot go into the city's use of that, or
If you call and you ask for a leaf pickup and the Public Works comes and picks it up, they take it over to the thing. There's no extra charge to you for
Yes,
doing so.
that's what I mean.
Right.
But it's a service I'm using and I'm not getting charged for
Can I
it.
jump in?
You actually are. We
part of your
include,
refuse.
right. Part of your refuse bill
Mhm.
is for leaf service,
Yeah,
leaf
and
pickup.
it's something that I wonder if we could just have people pay for when they use it. Not on everybody's, because everybody's going to use that at a different level in a different time frame. Some people use their waste for compost. Some
Correct.
people don't.
Correct.
You're still getting charged for that if you're using the compost or if you're making compost out of it. While somebody who's using it twice a week, I think it goes by twice a week.
That's a-
That
that's a-
person's,
It's a state law that we have to have certain services.
so that's one of the services that needs
It
to be
actually
held
is,
by
yeah,
state.
unfortunately.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something
That's
that
why I
I
was
was
just
thinking
curious.
initially.
I am public.
Yeah.
Public Works is my
It's a
committee.
law,
And that's
And
important.
that's why I was kind
Yeah.
of curious, but
it's a law under Act 101.
Yeah.
Populations over 5,000 per square mile or 10,000 overall.
Mhm.
You have to have a curbside leaf pickup program for everybody.
Law is definitely not my expertise, so it's something that I'd have to learn of. That was one of the questions from earlier as well.
are there any other specific items that you would like to see changed within the borough?
Do you mean in regards to cuts, or do you mean just other issues?
Anything
things
in
I'd like?
general?
Something I'd like to see is when people are, or when we're having events here in the city, I've watched as the community comes together and really celebrates. People get to know each other. People are talking on the streets. And what I'd like is more opportunity for when that's going on to connect knowledge to what's going on in the city. Because one of the things I learned in the last meeting that I was a part of, because I've only been to two of these, the one last time and this one, is I don't really know what's going on in this city. Borough. I know it's a borough, but my brain automatically says city. My wife's on the Facebook. I've not been on Facebook for years. That's something I have to change. And still, even though she's connected to this and sees everything going on, when it comes to what's going on in these meetings, I really don't hear about it until somebody's upset. And that's not good. There's a lot of wonderful work that I've heard you guys do and talk about, but people aren't able to communicate with or to connect with that every single time. A single mom working 2 jobs to feed her kids doesn't have a couple of extra hours to sit down and read a report and to watch this be replayed. Right? I don't think that would be a very, very fair thing to do to her. But what could be done, snippets of communication. This meeting was happening on this day. these were some of the topics. And one of the representatives could say, here's what I took from this meeting. Here's what I think is important. Here's where I'd like us to see and move as a city. Make it a minute to connect with people. So people look at your face and see that you actually care about them and know them as a person, not just a resident, not just a number, not just an address. And every person deserves that. That's the thing that I find very important as a minister and as somebody who cares about my neighbors. You're more than a face.
Okay, thank you.
Surprise. Do you know how much this position pays?
Not much.
And how much time will you have to devote to it in an average month?
My job varies. So I sometimes have lots of extra time and other times I don't have any. So it really does depend. Sometimes I'm on call and dealing with funerals and loss and people in suffering. And those will always take priority to me because that's my job and I'm responsible for care of souls and individuals. But there is a lot of flexibility when I'm not dealing with immediate issues. So generally, I probably have somewhere around 6 to 10 hours that I could give a week that are spare right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer, for coming out tonight. Real briefly, you talk about communication and knowing folks around you. Within a 3-street radius, how many neighbors do you actually know and talk to?
Know and talk to?
Like you know their name and you're gonna,
That's a fair
like-
question. Yeah.
like in a 3-street, not just your next, but 3-street radius.
Not as many as I should now that you say it. Probably 6.
Okay.
And that's less than I should, but it's what I know.
Do you know me?
No,
And I live 2 doors down from you.
we should fix that.
We should. I say it not to criticize
Mhm.
or challenge. I say it as Sarah brings up and other candidates bring up because I had that same philosophy too. I think
Yeah.
Mayor was here. I was like, we need to put signs out. We got to do something. We're not communicating enough.
Mhm.
I'm not a social networking guy.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. So I'm old school. But in my neighborhood, I know a lot. I probably know about 30 of my neighbors in that street. Because I talk to them. Hey, how you doing?
Mhm.
Larry, Nancy, they're all the way down at the other end of the corner. Ray, he's on, and you're next to, all right, now I forget his name. Now you got me. But anyway, Gary and Cecilia are next to it. So I try to talk to them. And so when I texted the neighborhood, hey, what about the garbage bill coming out?
Mhm.
I had all my neighbors contact say, hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And they came back and say, we'd rather have manual pickup.
Mhm.
All right. I was for the automated,
Automate,
Spencer. I was all in because it was a win deal. So I appreciate that. And I think I will take that to heart to continue to reach out to people. But I was just curious.
No, I think that's more than fair.
Thank you, Spencer.
Any other questions?
I think Shannon.
What qualities do you think that you bring to this council? What are your strongest qualities?
I tend to be a listener. That's something that I have to do, and I think it's important. The other quality is I might be stubborn when it comes to my opinion. I have a strong will and a strong opinion, but I'm willing to negotiate and to talk through and to figure out where the other person is on the perspective, because that's important, right? There are hard lines I have in my life, things I will not do, things I'm ready to do at a moment's notice. But I always want to know more about the people who are involved with it. So those tend to be the things I think I bring.
And I'm curious to know if you've explored any of the committees that we have and if there were any of particular interest to you.
So initially I was interested in Parks and Recs. That was an interesting one. Also, kind of development is interesting to me, but the Parks and Recs one tends to conflict with council meetings, which are on my Thursday evenings. So that one probably wouldn't be good for me. And if that's where you're looking to put somebody, it wouldn't be a great fit at the moment.
Not necessarily for you, but in general, most people don't know that we were the very first municipality in all Lehigh County to broadcast our meetings live.
Mhm.
And also, our meetings are also on cable TV.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that, but I've been on council the longest, 27 years. And as far as attendance to meetings, even back in the day, maybe you had a handful of 5 people. Some of them were regulars. We don't have regulars anymore. It doesn't happen.
Mhm.
You're right. People are very busy and they don't have the time. We can't make people come here.
Nope.
And you can make us do all the hoops and hurdles, but they still have to be a citizen and want to come here. And
Mhm.
we don't see that,
Yep.
to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It sounds good, but after 27 years on council, it's been the same for 27 years, other than we don't have regulars anymore.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what are you most excited about if you were to serve, and what are you most worried about?
Most worried about is generally easier because I worry about a lot of things. I want to make sure that that the kids that I know in this area, which vary from age, because the kids I used to work with at Holy Spirit, most of them are now college students and out of here. But the ones who are coming up that I know that are younger, and my kids, I want them to be raised in a place that is safe, a place that is good, a place that has opportunities for them to succeed. And I'm worried that as the time progresses, as things will eventually need to be cut, that those areas will be what's left out. California is a place that I grew up in, and the first things that areas started to cut were the extracurricular activities for kids, music, art, anything that was good for the soul got cut because it wasn't a metric that could be obtained. I don't want to see that. That's a big fear for me. Also, lack of connection. The less we have connection with our neighbors, the more we get angry and upset, and we start thinking the other person's out to get us. And that's what really kind of scares me about not just our area, but the country right now, because everybody's after each other. Everybody's at each other's throats. And if you say one thing that I don't like, I'm going to get rid of you. That's terrifying. I do not like that trend, and it's only getting worse. What I'm excited for are opportunities to buck that trend, opportunities to get to know the reality and to make a difference for the people who are here.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council members?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I'm from California, so I don't know if 2 of us can actually sit on this council.
That
Just
might be a
kidding.
problem. Yeah. Which part though? It's a big state.
See, that's a tricky question. I was born in the South, but I also lived up north, so
Okay. Yeah.
both parts.
So-
I see you're both as well.
Yeah. Southern California
Yep.
and then Bay Area. And I am registered to vote. That was one of the questions from earlier, just in case.
I know the last 3 candidates are registered to vote. The first 2 I couldn't find, so.
Okay.
Do you plan to run if not appointed today?
If it feels right. Because I find this interesting. I like learning about all of this. But when that time comes next year, it might not be quite right. It might not be the quite right fit for me at that time. But if so, then I would.
Yeah, so the time is April,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
March.
not next,
Not,
March.
not, yeah.
Right, so it's not next
Yeah.
year anymore.
That's
No,
fine.
well,
it's earlier than
it's-
that. It's March,
yeah.
I believe.
It's March. Okay.
Yeah.
Just-
So I said 2 earlier. I do have a 3rd one on the way, and that's when they're being born. So that might be,
Well, congratulations on that.
thank you.
Spencer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you don't have anything for us, this will conclude your interview. All right, next up to be interviewed is David Higgy.
Good evening. First off, I want to say thank you. I know with everybody's up in arms about this tax increase. But as somebody who has read through the budget, has been a part of one of the cuts that were needed to be made, it was not an easy choice. So I do want to be one of the people that does commend you for having to make the tough decisions. About that, 5 years ago, when me and my now wife were looking for a place to move down and be closer to work, closer to paramedic school, we looked at many communities in Lehigh County and we had some requirements. One of which obviously has to be for everybody, which is, cost effectiveness. Had to be close to our jobs, close to resources, and just able to physically live here. Also, we wanted a place where it wasn't just a town or a borough or anywhere to live, that it was somewhere that was a community, that had a sense of community. Because as somebody who's moved around in my life, we weren't looking to move around. We came to Emmaus. We wanted a place to put our roots down. Fortunately, we did. We have a 2-year-old son now, and we're not looking to go anywhere. So looking back over 5 years ago, best decision ever. A little bit about me. I've been in emergency services for 15 years, serving everything from volunteer firefighter to deputy coroner, Act 235 officer. I'm a paramedic currently with obviously Citronia Ambulance. That's where I came from today, and our lovely borough right here. On top of that, I hold multiple degrees, multiple associate's degrees, dual bachelor's, and I just completed my master's with signed intent to start a doctorate next fall. With that being said, I've always had a sense of wanting to get into the political world, get into the council world, and move up from there. I was actually just scrolling through Facebook one day and saw it on our Facebook page for the borough that there was an opening, and I was like, looked to my wife and it's like, hey, maybe this is my opportunity. I will say this is my first council meeting in attendance. The reason for that is the last 5 years of my life have been hectic. When I moved down here, I started AMP school, and then the following year, 2020, was our lovely COVID and paramedic school all at the same time. 2021, getting ready for my child and a wedding. Last year, my wife going through paramedic school, so now we've kind of got everything out of the way. We're good to go. So, I'm planning on being in attendance more, but it's been a rough couple years. But that's why I'm here today. Is I've always had this drive to serve and want to continue that. So, welcome to your questions.
Thank you. Anybody want to start? Good.
I just got one. Mr. Hickey, thank you for showing up tonight. You are currently employed with the Borough of UMass.
That is correct. I'm a part-time paramedic.
Would you be willing to give up that position for this position?
Absolutely.
Why would you do that? That's horrible. No,
Well,
I'm just kidding.
honestly,
You're saving lives and we're making people miserable.
many people have, when they found out why I'm here tonight, I'm actually missing some trainings to be here tonight. Thought I was crazy, but to me, this is the higher calling. This is where I want to be. I actually currently have my resignation typed up to submit tonight if I was to be appointed. This is not something I'm just doing just to do. This is something I want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
I have a question for you. So I've been on council. This is going on my 8th year. I have 3 children.
Mhm.
And when I came on council, my youngest was 2. So that's a lot
Oh, yeah.
going on. And my question for you is, how do you feel about the time commitment required here in managing a young child at home?
Absolutely. It's a fair question. So I'm very good at time management. So to give you background, so anybody who doesn't know, paramedic school for somebody in our area is 2 nights a week plus 1 Saturday a month plus multiple field shifts at 3 different agencies, hospital clinicals, operating room clinicals, cardiac ICU, everything. I just, like I said, last year, my wife went through it. I worked full time. I completed my master's degree, all while still having time to be with my family. Yeah, I'm going to miss things, just because of the nature of our jobs, but we still have even with all that going on, we took 3 different vacations. We've done multiple things. And that's the great thing about our jobs of being EMS is we have that flexibility. Hey, we don't want to work this day, we'll work this day. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I believe when you have the mindset of wanting to do something and that's what you want to do, you could figure out ways to make it work and just got to put in that work. I also don't sleep, so.
Another important question, and this is true for anyone who's considering this role. how do you set boundaries and take care of your stress?
So that's a great question. So one of my actual bachelor's degree is social work. One thing I'm very big on is mental health, is taking care of oneself. For me, I know myself. You know, I have that self-reflection, that self-ability to understand, hey, getting a little stressed out, you know, need to go take this break. I have many outlets that I use, whether it's just sitting and relaxing, whether it's, you know, one big thing I do is I build Legos. My house looks like a toddler grew up in it. So I have those outlets. I also know in that point where I have umpteen people in my phone I could pick up and call and be like, hey, kind of getting a little stressed out. Can we talk? Can we hang out? So I have that self-ability, especially obviously the job I've done for 15 years. It's definitely rough. So I believe it doesn't really come down to an issue for me for the most part.
Okay, but sleep is important too, so don't forget about that.
Yes.
Um, so if you were the person selected, and an issue came up regarding the ambulance service, how do you separate your career from a possible tough decision? Example, this year, you probably are aware, we had the second truck that we're not doing service for. So how do you separate that with your career, with what you know, and people you know over there sitting on this side of the
So
seat?
I think it comes back down to being the individual myself. You know, I understand that, you know, there's a job to be done. You know, yeah, did that cut hurt me personally? Yeah, because I picked up a lot on that shift. So unfortunately kind of did that. But in all honesty, you know, we have a job to do. You know, it's just like my job over at Citronier. I'm not just a paramedic, I'm an FTO, I'm the assistant simulation coordinator. I have a role in a lot of things over there. So there's a time where like, hey, we're friends, I know you, we're cool, but at the end of the day, if I have a job to do, it's got to get done. And unfortunately, if you're on the bad end, I will try to explain it to the best of my ability. And I think that goes for really any issue, is just to be able to explain it and to open the eyes and say, hey, look, unfortunately, this is what's happening. If it was an issue with the ambulance, I would think that I do have a unique perspective as that, as being one of my things for 15 years. But at the end of the day, you know, that truck needed to be cut. And I might be crazy for this, but I kind of agreed with it at the point, you know? So
I appreciate the honesty. Thank you. And
No,
by the way,
absolutely.
I want to acknowledge you were the first guy that came in. You walked in with me at 4:30. Thank you. Appreciate you being early.
I believe if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. What else do you foresee though us needing to do in the borough to make things where you feel would be right?
So it's tough to answer being on this side of the table. Obviously, I don't have all the information that you all have that you guys go through, you know, every month here. Do I think there are areas that we spend money, that we do things, just looking over the budget that was posted online? Absolutely, but that's anywhere. But to sit here and for me to criticize it and to say this is what I would cut, this is what I would do, is unfair to all of you. It's unfair to our residents. It's unfair to our borough employees because I'm not in that position. I can't say I don't have all the facts. I know there's areas that I would look at just from, you know, being a natural human and a person in this place, but to give specifics on what to cut, what not to do, I don't have all the facts. I can't do that. And if, you know, that kind of hurts my chances of not giving the answer, you know, so be it. But, you know, I believe, you know, you need to have all the facts in order to make a decision.
No, it's fair. I appreciate the honesty. Thank you. I'm good. Okay, go ahead.
I hear you that you don't have all the facts. Neither does anyone here have all the facts, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to start a line of inquiry, and that's where you get the facts, and that's where you make decisions. So how about this? What line of inquiry would you start with? Knowing that we have hundreds of thousands of dollars that we need to, you know, change course on it if we're to avoid another big increase. Where do you
So-
start?
The first thing I would do is I would create a gap analysis. I would look at where we are currently, where we want to be, and what steps do we need to take it there. The one thing that I've learned in my Masters of Management, specifically emergency management, is that before you undertake anything like this, when you're in these positions, you really need to go back to the basics of these analysis, whether it be a gap analysis, you need to set your SMART goals, you need to have, you know, your SWOT analysis done to really start seeing the whole picture and figuring out what's going on. Me personally, I would do I like how we have our budget set up by the different departments, different funds. Really, it's just taking a deep dive into each one of those and then seeing, one of the big things I've learned in budgeting is looking at, is there double cost? Are we putting, doing the same service we're doing here and doing kind of something similar here where maybe we can actually combine the two and, save a little bit of money, things like that. Also, obviously, bids and all that stuff. So there's a lot that can be done, but I think the first step is to creating those analysis and actually taking a look at where we are and where we need to be. Because without that, in my opinion, it's just guessing and pulling things from different places. So I believe with having those gap analysis, setting those SMART goals, we'd be able to get onto the right track and make us prosperous, 2025 and on.
Thank you.
Did you guys go?
Okay.
I can ask a question.
Since
So-
what,
Oh, go. I was just gonna say, so what prompted a lot of people here was the tax increase and that kind of put our council meetings on their radar. So my question for you is what is going well in the community? What do you love? Because the reason why we don't hear from a lot of people is because things are going well, right? We only hear when something is not, people are not happy about something.
Of course.
So what is it that you see that's going well?
So I would say overall, and maybe I'm just blinded, but I think the borough, we're doing a lot successful, from community engagement events we do, from the farmers market to, excuse me, the different organizations that hold events in our parks and stuff, to having the emergency services. One of the big things reason I moved here was having the types of emergency services we have. From just having the different types of community events, I think we're doing really well. We do engage our community. I think a lot of what is going on currently, and like I said, I haven't attended meetings, I apologize for that, but I think a lot of it is just, again, with everything, the way the national economy has gone, people hear increase and they just freak out without understanding it. So I think I really don't see anything negative. Obviously, anytime we have to raise taxes, it's a negative. Nobody wants that. But to me personally, I've been here 5 years. I'm not looking to leave. I don't see anything wrong. I mean, my 2-year-old loves to swim. We're constantly using the pool in the summertime. We love going over to the different parks. Some of them I didn't even know until I, researched, especially the new one we made up on behind the high school. I can't remember the name of it.
Street.
Yep, that park. He loves it. The one by the public library. So I think we're doing a lot well. We have a lot of resources. And I think, we just got to expand on that. Just got to bring more residents in, bring more businesses in. My goal is not to just make the borough of Emmaus great, but to make it a great place to live, make it a great place to do business, bring businesses in, bring people in, and really sustain us for the next, 100 and some years.
Thank you.
what are you most excited about and what are you most worried about?
So the thing that I'm most worried about is having a target on my back. I've seen through social media all the negativity that you guys have obtained through having to make the tough decisions. I got thick skin. I could deal with it. I don't want to say I love confrontation, but I don't shy away from it. I will gladly debate people. I was on debate teams. So a little worried about that. What I'm most excited for is to take this next step in my professional career, is to finally have the time, finally have the availability to take that next step onto my lifelong goal, which is to be president. So this is my first step, but just really excited to do that and really be able to go beyond just, like I said, I think being on the ambulance gave me a unique perspective into the community itself. Because not every call is life and death. These people are dying. I can't speak to them. I've been in people's homes here. I've talked to them. I've sat there for, an hour on a call, just talking to, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what their worries are. So I think, being able to come onto this side of it with that information really is exciting to me, really to be able to hear people's concern and actually be able to take action and not be one of those people that just, complains and complains but never takes the action.
If they do complain about any of us, I don't know about it because I don't ever go on in and read it because usually it's a complaint
Oh yeah.
forum, so I don't listen to it. If you were not to get this seat tonight, would you be willing to run again?
To be honest, I don't know. Like I said, the interest tonight, I always had an interest. With how quick everything went down, I don't know. It wasn't something that I was actively pursuing, but once it came up, will I? Maybe, maybe not. I really don't know, you know.
Okay. You're trying to go the easy route, not have the campaign.
No, I mean, not that, but you know, I don't know, you know. I got to look into the work, you know, and see what it takes. So
It's not that hard. So anyhow,
I'll take your word for it.
thank you. That's all I have. No, I'm willing to help out anyone that is not chosen tonight. If you choose to run, I'm willing to help you get on it. It's not hard.
Okay.
You just have to follow the rules. That's it.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, David, this concludes our interview.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
So it's like usually February.
Next on the list is Mr. Chris Dufresne.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'll start here. I have lived in Emmaus since 1978, except for the years 92 through 98. Lived with my wife in another city until we moved back to Emmaus. I graduated from Emmaus. Both my children graduated from Emmaus. I still live here, obviously. Both my children have houses in Emmaus, and my dad still lives in Emmaus. I plan to be buried in one of these cemeteries here. I love Emmaus. So I've said that since I've known everybody in Emmaus. This is a great place. I have 8 years of prior service on the Borough Council, including as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, and I served as vice president. I stepped off in December of 2023, and I'll be honest, I've told everybody, I believe in term limits, and that was my 8 years. I had to reconcile this with myself and have many conversations. You're all right. This isn't Republican and Democrat. This is about doing what's right for Emmaus. So if there ever is a place to put more than 8 years in, it's on Emmaus Borough Council or a township. So I did struggle with that decision there, but I'm past that. I have a 30+ year professional experience as a certified public accountant. I've been a public accountant since 2000, but I've been in the accounting industry before that. I've also been the chief financial officer for a rather large area restaurant company that had 2,000 employees. I did retire from there in 2022. So I have leadership, executive leadership, financial planning, and strategic advising roles in my background. Right now I'm retired, but I have my own small consulting business. Quite honestly, it's a lifestyle business. So if I work 10 hours a week, that was a busy week for me. So I definitely have time to do this. I also have experience negotiating union contracts, and I have familiarity with the local issues here. And I know there is one union contract that comes up for negotiation this year. So that's what I'll start, and I'll answer any questions.
I'll kick us off. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Dufresne, thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to start off with maybe a challenging question to you, and hopefully it doesn't come across with a negative intent, but an intent of challenge. One of the things that I've personally done has stepped away from politics and just kind of got away from everything, and it kind of cleared my head a little bit. And then I came back, and my mentality is a little different because I'm not running again. I got 3 more years. With you stepping away from, what's it been, a year? Has it been a year?
Yeah, 1 year exactly.
1 year.
Yep.
Looking back on your time here, that 8 years, what challenges would you possibly do different, or what other things that you would approach differently? Or how would you, it's a loaded question, and we got a small amount of time.
Yeah.
It'd be one
Thank you for that question. So a couple things that I would say, anyone who knows me knows I had a little bit of a rough health experience there. So kind of 2 of those years, I kind of lost some of them. I am healthy now, so knock on wood here, that's not a concern. The other thing, we also had a pandemic during those 8 years. So some of the things that I think would do different here, there was a large chunk of these last 4 years here between pandemic and stuff that you were just like every business, you were just trying to keep your head above water and figure out everything as the rules changed. Hopefully, we don't have another pandemic in the next 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, hope's not a plan, but I can't control that. So I just have to live with it if it comes. You know, it's unfortunate to say, don't take this negatively. Sometimes you need a big negative to bring people to the table.
Yeah.
A 26% tax increase, unfortunately, is a big negative. People have to be more willing to listen. And I understand we all want to protect what we have. But now's the time to have the conversations. And quite honestly, that's why I'm willing to come back to this. And I've been away a year, and thank you for the question. I've stepped back on my work even more, and I am in such a better place mentally. And I never thought it was a
Right.
bad place, but such a better place. Like you said, you just get that catch your breath, and I actually feel good. So thank you for that question.
Well, if we're talking about term limits,
You way exceeded that.
unless the term limits are 7 terms, I'm all right, but um, I'm winding down though, just so you know, I'm winding down.
Okay.
If you were on council during this last year, what do you think you would have done differently, knowing that we cut a lot of things that we don't normally cut and also laid off positions?
So I know what goes on where you sit, so I have an advantage here. I can't sit here and criticize any of that. What I would say is let's go back even more than a year. Myself, I wish I would have been even more adamant about we have to come to the table now. It's just a matter of time until this happens. I can't sit here and criticize what you did and what you didn't do because, again, unfortunately, it's not a 1-year thing. And like you said, you did make a lot of cuts, and cutting people, I've been there. It's the hardest thing in life to do if you care about people.
And if for some reason you weren't chosen tonight, are you still planning on running for the office?
My first choice was not to even apply for this seat and run next time, just because I would be able to see what the conversation was for the first 3 months of next year. So yes, I would, health provided. I would run again next year, or this year, pardon me. It's not next year anymore. It is this year now. The 2 or 4 year would depend on if we're really willing to have the conversations that need to be had. But yes, I will run either for the 2 or 4 year, health provided.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Chris. The question I have is, what is the conversation and where do you foresee the way to implement that conversation?
Okay. The conversation, and I'll use the pandemic as an example. The conversation needs to be had with everybody at the table first. And I know in the budget meetings, the department heads are here, but the real conversation has to be had even before that with the department heads. You know, a long time ago, I learned, and I used to say this all the time, that I used to get sick of hearing it. The word "and" is the worst word in business. Everything we do in Emmaus is good. Some of the things are great. You just can't do this and this and this and this and this and this, or you do nothing well. And then you start cutting the music, this cut, this little cut, this little cut. Sooner or later, there's nothing else to cut at that point. So we have to have the department heads, secretaries, whoever wants to be involved from the departments is fine. If everybody in the borough wants to be involved, that's even better. What I learned in the pandemic when I was not sick at my previous position, we have to give numbers to them. Whatever that number is, and that's not for me to decide, that's for all of us to decide. And we have to say, this is your budget. How do you make it work? If they can make it work with all the positions, I'm thrilled. I don't like eliminating positions, but sometimes you have to do that. COVID showed that when you don't have a choice, you get together and you figure it out. And it's not the executives that are figuring out. It's the people that live it day in and day out. They know what can be given up and not sacrifice the security of the town, the health of the people, the sanitation, not do that. They know what it is. So we have to bring them together. I think knowing most of the people in this borough, they will participate in that conversation. The other thing I've heard from talking here, we need the residents to get here, get on Zoom. I know, I hear all this. We can't stop talking. I know it's frustrating that we say, well, we did notify you. We did. Yeah, we did. We have to keep doing it. There's so much noise in the world now. You have to do it. But the residents have to get here, and not just when they're upset. As I said in the last meeting here, the PFAS situation, that was the best meeting that I attended in my 8 years because it was full of residents. And I learned so much from some of them because I know next to nothing about keeping water clean. We have an incredibly talented residents in this borough. We need them to come out and add their 2 cents. And that's not a negative word. We need them to add their 2 cents and take the initiative of stepping up, even if they're not on borough council, to help us all make better decisions.
Fair, thank you.
And then if that doesn't work, then you do have to start talking to other municipalities for regionalization and stuff. But that's not what I want personally. But I also understand the same number of people are going to pay for everything because we're not growing. We can't. It's a rounding error by what we grow by. 10% of 3 million is 300,000. 10% of a million is 100,000. It's a big difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in your 8 years on council, what would you say was one thing you're most proud of?
Helping to, I want to say this the right way, listen to everybody. I think most of you know that if we're on council with me, I can have my opinion changed because I am willing to listen. But I'm also not afraid that if I do believe in something and we decide that's what needs to be done, we have to decide that I'm okay being the face of that. And not a lot of people are okay being the face of that. So if I have to have a difficult conversation or I have to, tell somebody, hey, you need to step back in line, I'm okay with doing that. Do I look forward to it? No, but I'm okay with that. I had to do it my whole career. So that's what I'm most proud of, that I'm willing to listen because I don't know everything, not even close to knowing everything. And if you say something that gets me to think in a different way, I will change my mind. And it's okay to change your mind.
So I will say that that's what I respected most of you as a council member. I also appreciated that you invited voices that weren't speaking. If you only had this 1 year and you served on council, what would be your one thing you'd want to accomplish?
To get the conversation started, to at least know that we're going in the right direction, because it's the direction that's needed. If borough council's long-term plan is to just cut and cut and cut in October and November, we're going to fail miserably because that's not the way. It's not the way to do it. And that's not a knock. That's not the way to do it. You're reactionary then at that time. You're not proactive. So that's why I decided to do this seat, because it would have been a lot easier to sit and wait till March and put it in here and see how everything went. I hear Mrs. Watt, there's going to probably be a tax increase next year. I've been away for a year, but I know how numbers work. So I could have just sat on the side and waited, but that's not me. I like Emmaus. I love Emmaus.
Thanks.
Anything else? Chris, anything for us?
Nope.
I think this concludes your interview.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.
By the way, since budgeting was relevant, Mr. Pepe asked that I not charge while I was sitting here listening to the interviews, so you are not being charged for the
Woohoo!
hour of time.
Saved it. We saved
Although I
$100.
managed to charge 6.2 to talk to Phil because I have to talk to him 18 different times
That's county.
this
That's
entire
the county. Charge it to the county.
every year, 16 times I have to hear his speech.
Are you coming with a big check, Phil? Okay.
At this point, I will ask if anyone has a nomination,
Motion. to
a
appoint.
motion to appoint. Mr. Lindberg,
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chris Dufresne.
we have a motion by Mr. Lavenberg. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Watt. Discussion? Lindberg?
I just want to say that I am friends with Chris, but the first time I heard that he was applying for this was from an email from Shane. I had no conversations with him. Since that email, I had no conversations with the other candidates either. And I also had no conversations with anyone on council except for Roy, because we were talking about something else and it came up. I want to thank everyone that applied. You're here because you care, and I truly believe that. And that's important. We need people to step up. I'm supporting Chris because we don't have to train him. He can step right in and finish it 1 year. There's 2 years that are going to be on the ballot next year. So I'm willing to help anyone if Chris is chosen tonight, help anyone get on the ballot. There's definitely going to be 1 seat open. There could be 2, as many as 4. And it is I'm not going to say likelihood. It's a possibility that could actually happen where we have 4 open seats and nobody's running for those seats. So we need people to step up in the community. Another reason I'm supporting Chris is because I worked with him side by side when we negotiated contracts with the unions. And we have some contracts coming up this year, and I think he would be very valuable for negotiating those contracts. And we need that. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to say thank you for coming out and applying sincerely. And we'll need some of you to apply in the spring, because if nobody steps up, then we're just, I don't know. You need people to step up in your community. So thank you for being here.
We take board.
Any further discussion?
I wanted to say that I have been at this for exactly 1 year. And that in the first year, I have mostly learned how to be competent. But it takes that full year. And I started by going to a weekend of training at the Hotel Bethlehem, which was excellent. And I would highly recommend, which is not going to be available in January because it's an off year. So that beautiful soft landing that I had of like 16 hours of experts describing to me how to operate in a meeting, what you can do and what you can't do. That is something that none of you would have the benefit of today. It is something that you could have the benefit of a year from now. And so all of you were fantastic candidates. You all have bring something wonderful to the borough. And I hope we see all of your names on the ballot. But I don't think the borough can afford a year here, especially an important year where we're facing another big tax increase of another me that's just trying to catch up for a year. So we need an expert here who can get us through it. And then we need all of you to go through the PSAB training after you get new seats in 2026 and come in ready to go.
Anyone else have a discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Wait,
Oh.
what did you say?
Any else have a discussion?
Are there any other nominations? Aren't we supposed to?
No, so it's
You voted the order to get them.
yeah, it's
Okay.
Robert's rule is this is once the motion is made,
Gotcha.
you vote on that motion, and if it fails, a new nomination comes in.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Chris.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
So I wanted to also thank everyone who came out here. There's several of you that I think should run and you would have my vote. I'm not running next year, or this year, so my seat is open. It's a 4-year term. There's 2 others who have 4-year terms that are also potentially going to be available and may or may not have people.
It might be my 7-term limit coming up. 7-year.
Did Chris sway you? So I definitely encourage you to look into it. So if you're new to the idea of running for election, you just need to pick up your petition in February. So it's coming up soon. You would need to get 10 signatures minimum. 20 is recommended at least. So friends, neighbors, just have them sign. You can run for the 2-year seat or the 4-year seat. And in March, you would turn it in. And then you would be on the ballot for the May primary. If you're elected for the May primary, then you would be on the general ballot in November.
Sean, do you want the calendar? This is
Yeah, I
the
was trying to find it. What are the exact dates?
For those of you interested in running, there's a calendar available online from the Department of State, the Secretary of State's office.
On the county website.
It's also on the county website as well. But the first day to circulate and file nomination petitions is February 18th. The last day to circulate and file nomination petitions is March 11th. And for a borough council seat under the election law, Title 25, it is a minimum of 10 signatures, as Councilperson Baumgartner pointed out. That's within your party for the primary. That's correct. But if you have questions, those are all answerable on the website of the Department of State, or you can go to the County Board of Elections website, which will have the same information.
I also wanted to share that your passion for the community and for your specific issues that you're mentioning is wonderful. And a lot of what we have to do is based on federal, state, and county laws. So much of where that passion would be most beneficial is reaching out to your representatives and being part of that process as well, because that's where really significant changes that can impact us at the local level could take place in terms of a lot of things that were coming up today. I do encourage you too to get involved in boards and commissions. Those are volunteer positions. So in the meantime, especially if you're interested in certain areas, some people brought up, for example, their interest in parks. We have a Parks Recreation Entertainment Commission. They're the ones that do the summer concert series and different events. We have the Arts Commission that does a lot of our events. So those are great places to get involved as well. Great opportunities for networking, but also being a part of the community while you're hopefully running for my position or somebody else's on council. So thank you for coming, and I enjoyed getting to know about all of you.
Thank you. Brent?
I have all your contact information from your applications, and I'll be in touch to see if you have any questions and to help you if you're interested in running. Because I might be another open seat. I haven't decided yet.
And
My wife might have helped me a little with the decision, but.
And again, for those of you who are considering running for those spots, please go on the county website and the Department of State website, get that information. I've done work for both political parties over the years, and I can tell you that it's not as complicated as it seems, but you want to make sure you have your paperwork buttoned up tight.
I will just add that I would much rather run for election than do what y'all just did tonight. So I think it's a lot easier to do be on the ballot. Yes, it is.
Can we have a brief recess then?
Yeah, I would take a brief recess, let him fill out his affidavit so then he can get sworn in.
All right. While Mr. Dufresne is going through some paperwork procedures, we're going to take a quick recess
At 6:30.
at 6:30.
Exactly 6:30.
Just a brief recess.
All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order here at 6:36. Next up on the agenda is swearing in our new council member, Chris Dufresne.
Yeah, it's still rude.
I, Chris Frank,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
in the Borough of Umass, Pennsylvania with fidelity.
in the Borough of Pennsylvania, Hayes, Pennsylvania, with fidelity.
Also, give me your signature.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to make a change to the agenda.
Go ahead.
So we would now be having personal appeals, but we do have a special presentation by Lehigh County Executive Phil Armstrong, and he has some place to be shortly. So I want to make sure we get him in and then we can follow. So I'd like to move item number 7A ahead of 5.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 7 ayes. So next up on our agenda, with it being moved, would be special presentations. And I'd like to welcome Phil Armstrong from Lehigh County.
Well, thank you. I'm not really here for a special presentation tonight. I'm here because, oh my gosh.
We got to do our meeting,
Oh,
our breakfast meeting that we got in trouble for.
love that guy.
It's good to see you, Mr. Executive.
Oh, definitely. This is my kind of farewell because I am term limited and this is my last year on the job. I will not be a lame duck. I said I'm going to come out to all these meetings and I'm still going to come out to them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here tonight. I'm also here to let you know we do have some funding. We're going to be giving out to the Emmaus Fire Company for their training facility. We're going to try to help out as much as we can. I'm meeting with the fire chiefs on the 24th of this month. I've got something up my sleeve for that too. Not, I think I hope they're going to be receptive, but maybe it will save them some money in the long run. So we're working on that. I am not going to be, as I said, a lame duck. I will work right till the day they throw me out. I said to you, my goal is to make sure Lehigh County has been put on the map, and we are. I just, a little while ago, spent 3 days at Harvard because I was one of the 21 counties that have been selected as county executives to do a leadership training there, and it was very valuable. But I know you probably didn't get a chance to read that wonderful op-ed, but I wanted to say thank you for the work that you people have done. And I tried to mention all of the county community leaders and government people in that article, because what we have here in Lehigh County, the cooperation, and I heard you talking about this in the interview questions, is nonpartisan. It's what needs to be done, and we roll up our sleeves and get it done. We're going to be one of the only counties in the state of Pennsylvania. We're getting together with Berks County and Dauphin County, and we're looking at a 3-county facility for juvenile delinquency, which is a problem for a treatment center. As you know, years ago, there were some judges up north that sent some people away, and it was pay to play and et cetera. And we lost a lot of facilities, and for good reason too. But now this is an urgent need in the state, and the state is very, very happy that we're one of the first time counties that actually are going to go together to do this. And I think it's going to hopefully work out. It's been passed, a letter of support passed in our board, not unanimously, but it passed. And that's sometimes all you need is the 5 votes, and we got them. So we're working towards some things that I think will keep Lehigh County, as you know, is the only county in the state that we're buying the radios for your emergency people. We're going to ask for a nice payment plan, but we're going to give you the time to do it. We're also working with the Emmaus Borough and Emmaus School District on your LERTA. We're going to be behind that. Hasn't gone to our board yet, but we support it. I've met with your contractors for what they've done, and I think it will be a good thing for Emmaus and Lehigh County. So that's it. Basically, I'm just here to say thank you very much. I've really enjoyed. We have 12 months to go, and I hope that'll be as great as the last 7.5 years have been. So do you have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Executive, for coming out. It's an honor to speak with you. Regarding the radios, one of their issues here at the borough is the cost of our radios and how things are going to be funded. Some are being, there's one option of, I think, up to 20 years, I think. My question to you is, Mr. Executive, is in the past, when I served along with you, we were able to fiscally forecast in 2026 that there was some debt that would be coming off of our.
Yes.
Is it possible to use, I don't know what the new vision is going forward, things do change. Is it possible that the county could possibly pick up the whole instead of us paying it back? This is where we,
At this time,
as Neil said earlier, I'm lobbying right now.
yes.
So
I have to answer that. That's an easy one. I'd say no, only because our debt with this expansion of Cedar Brook, that's really hitting us difficult. A year longer in construction, and as everybody knows, things have gone up, and we've had some problems there. So I don't see us next year's budget. My last budget's going to be one of the toughest, but I think we've still, again, by being in these national organizations that I belong to, we've been able to save over $2 million a year in our medical expenses. So we're offering more to our employees now than we ever did before without raising the expense. In fact, saving. We're revamping our insurances now. We now have a risk management person. We found out that there's some things that should have been insured that weren't. Did I say that publicly? But, well, looking at our budget constraints, we're willing to work with the towns and boroughs and all of the groups on the easiest payment plan for you. But again, we're the only county that's even doing that. Everybody else is saying, and by buying bulk, we are getting them cheaper, so it is going to save you money in the long run, But I have met with a person directly in the White House who asked me about what is something that they should be considering as far as helping counties and municipalities. And the first thing I said was, you want to get people really liking you? The radio expense. So I met with 3 people from the White House, and that was my number one goal. Will we get it?
Right.
We got the Lockridge grant, so we're asking, and if we did, yes, but it would have to be some kind of a grant like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Executive, Mr. Armstrong, if I may.
Tell us fine.
Phil, same as what Nate brought up about the radios. The county's offering a payback of, I don't know, Shane, what was it 10 years, 15, 20? What was it?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a movie.
It was at least 10 though.
It's at least.
Yeah.
The lifespan of the radios are 5 or 7 years. It doesn't make sense to take a loan out for longer than the expectancy of the radio. So that's a predicament that you're putting all the municipalities in. And then on top of that, we'll have to start replacing them while we're still paying for the first ones. And we're mandated to do this by the county. We don't have an option. We're forced to do this.
Well, and it's not the county forcing you.
Essentially, yes.
Well, no, not it is. No, not at all. The state said you must go to this system. And we as a county said to try to help you, we do the buying, we're taking out a bond, and we'll take the buying part. So we're doing this as a help. Now without this, you'd be buying those radios on your own, and you'd have to take a loan out and
Right, and we
et
would
cetera.
do a 5-year loan. So maybe you can consider and take this back.
Well,
that
we could,
do
we're
the loan of the expectancy of the radio at least.
we're willing to work with all of you on terms. We haven't said anything, as Shane said, we haven't put anything in stone yet.
All right.
So
Well, I
we're-
just wanted to make you aware
Yeah.
of that.
Oh, yeah,
because
no,
it doesn't make sense to do
Well,
that.
we're trying to make it a payment plan that you can live with, is what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Just as you do maybe have any talks with your friends in Washington, there's a big sewer expense coming to all the Lehigh County municipalities, and any type of funding help that could come for our municipalities. It's something that's going to hit our residents hard. And that's something that I would ask if you do have time and thing. I mean, that's going to go way above the
yes.
radio cost and anything else. So that would be my ask of you. Thank you.
I've had 3 very long meetings with the LCA, and we are looking at helping, not maybe at the level that they do need, but they are putting together a package, and we've talked off record, and there will be some help. But again, I have a board too that
Absolutely.
I'm in favor of certain things, but I'll have to get it through my board too. But we are looking at doing some help.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And for being here as you always do. Although I'm mad at you. I didn't see you at the Christmas tree lighting this year. You always come to that.
I always do. And that night was a banquet that I had to be at. And, I
I
love,
noticed you weren't there.
yeah, and I love Emmaus tree lighting. You know that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. And it was just, you can't be in 2 spots at one time.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Which I pretty much have to go now because I have to be at another spot. Any other? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for your time.
we do have to do breakfast.
We do.
Nate's buying.
Yeah, who bought that time, Phil? Was it me or you? All right, I owe you that.
I wasn't there, but I know how Nate is with money, and I would probably agree. All right, so going back on the agenda, we're going to go back here to personal appeals part 1. If anyone has a personal appeal, please approach the podium. You have 5 minutes for your appeal.
Hi, I'm Cindy Horniman with Emmaus Rotary, and we've talked to you about our Emmaus Summer Festival, May 31st, and we have some exciting updates. First, I wanted to introduce you. The Rotary year for offices is unlike and not as complicated as yours, is July 1st through June 30th. So Eric Locke, our current president, is away on vacation. And I'd like to introduce you to Nellie Kabiru. She'll also be working with us very much on this program, and she starts July 1st. And you probably all know Rick Zayitz. We roped him into this committee as he's on everything and participates. So we really have a team. So we have a couple updates. I think I'm meeting later this week with
Wednesday,
some people
Lawrence.
because we do have some logistics. So May 31st, we're holding the first of, we hope, many Emmaus Rotary and Emmaus Summer Festival in Emmaus Community Park from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Where we are as of right now, we're very excited. We have the Jandal Farms will be our major corporate sponsor, along with we are providing a lot of entertainment all day on the stage. Starting at 10 a.m., we are pleased to have Cat Country 96. I'll be meeting with him. He's agreed to be a major sponsor as well as communicate the event. Throughout the day, we'll have some of the children's dance groups. We're working on another major band, but we have secured and have started to announce the Craig Thatcher Band. As you know, he brings in hundreds and hundreds of people, will be from 6 to 8. So that will be the entertainment. For the raising of some of our funds, we have secured and working with Shangy Beer Distributors, and we have a refrigerated truck thing that holds the stuff. We have also secured Tolino Wines. They were at the Christmas tree lighting, and they're very good people. Jandals is also providing us a treat, and we have a sponsor for water. So that's the part of the money making. We are in the process right now of soliciting for food trucks. We have some early bird specials going on. Roughly for this size of event, which you said 2,500 people to 3,000, is roughly 6 to 8 food trucks, and we're getting those. We are in the process of securing arts and crafts vendors, as well as business sponsors, as well as now children's activities. So it's going to be a very wonderful event. We put out our first group of press releases. Jandal is also providing us, next week's a very busy week, with his marketing company, which will not only help provide marketing, but is also going to provide some billboards and things like that in the area. So I just wanted to give you an update. We're going to be coming regularly. The goal is to raise money for the East Penn Food Coalition, of which we have now distributed over the last 4 years 21,000 bags of food. The week before Christmas, we packed 328 bags of food. People in our community need that, and we need to promote this so that the whole community needs it. So I just wanted to tell you that we're meeting next week. We want to make sure that our first year is logistically and the best planned so that we can grow and improve it every year and it becomes easier. Any questions? Anything you'd like to know? I'll be glad to answer.
I don't have
Looking for corporate sponsors like big time. So anybody you know, money.
No question, just a comment, and would like to thank you for wanting to host this in our community, and really looking forward to participating and watching this grow, and hopefully you guys continue to have the event grow in our community.
We plan to. Yes.
You can reach out to me for a donation.
Yay.
It's not a camel.
No,
petting zoo.
Well, you know what? We're going to have a little bit of that. Oh. All right.
Peaceable
Never
king.
mind.
So there's an ongoing debate as to how we ended up with a camel. That I paid for. So
Well, we're looking for volunteers if you like to take the animals for the petting zoo.
I'll ride the camel.
Thank you, guys. We're going to be coming regularly with updates and we'll be working on logistics. So.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience have a public appeal? How about anybody on our online guests? We'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Do it one more time.
I'm gonna ask one more time to unmute yourself if you have a public appeal. All right, hearing and seeing none. Does anyone have a community minute they would like to bring forward? Madam Mayor?
Go ahead, Madam Mayor, you go first.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. This Thursday, July 9th, we have a ribbon cutting from 5:30 to 6:30. We're welcoming in the new business Cafe 23 at 318 Main Street, and we'll be cutting the ribbon at 6.
January 9th, right?
What did I say?
July.
Oh, I'm sorry. January 9th.
It'll be warmer.
At what time?
5:30 to 6:30 is the actual event, and we'll be cutting the ribbon at 6.
Roy?
So hot off the press, if you voicemail or your text message from the borough just went off a little while ago, the trash due to the weather and whitetail is being pushed till Friday. So put it out on Thursday for Friday this week. So just an FYI, like I said, that was just a message that went out. And anybody, if you don't know, you can sign up for voicemail or text with the borough if you're not already signed up, and get all types of notices like this, when they occur. So just an FYI. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else have a community minute to bring forward? Hearing none. Would someone like to make a motion to approve December 16th council meeting minutes? Motion by Mr. Labenberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Brown. Any discussion?
I just want to comment that Jess did the notes, the minutes. She did a fantastic job. That was not an easy feat. So I want to congratulate her for putting together accurate and fantastic minutes. That's all I want to say.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, no,
appreciate
she
it.
did. Thank you. I will,
Any other comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We do not have any decisions on bids, and under communications, we have a few reappointments. Brent, would you like to do that, or do you want me to just go through individually? You want to do what we did last time?
Which one's under?
So we're going to do 10A, 10B.
All right.
10C, 10D will handle in the resolution, and then 10E.
I don't know what the terms are for 10B and 10C.
she just,
I don't have. Is that?
I think it's behind it, Shane. No.
I can probably pull it up.
Well, let me do the two that we do have while we're looking that up, if you don't mind.
There we go. I got it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, so which ones are we looking for? B and C.
Recreation and Entertainment and Arts Commission.
The Arts Commission, who's up?
No, the arts is a new one that needs to go to CRD. That's not
Who's up on the Arts?
Which one is?
That's an appointment. No, that's an appointment. That needs to go to committee.
Have they been interviewed?
Some yes and
Actually,
some
aren't they
no.
both new
I don't
appointments?
know if any of them.
Yeah,
have been
the
B and C shouldn't be included.
A is a reappointment. B and C are new applications. And then Chris Thompson is a reappointment.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we appoint Vince Transguch to the Civil Service Commission for a term, 6-year term expiring January 1st, 2031. And Chris Thompson reappointed to the Community Garden Commission for a 3-year term expiring January 1st, 2028. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lambert,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Anders. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We got a Deborah Kirkpatrick request for appointment to the Recreation and Entertainment Commission. That we will send over to Parks and Rec. Tyler Roberts has a request in for an appointment to the Arts Commission. That we will send over to CRD. Hanover Engineering has a request for reappointment for the Borough Utility Engineer and as the Sewage Enforcement Officer. That will pick up in the resolution tonight. And then next on the agenda is we have a letter of resignation from Jason Apgar, who is going to go into our drop program. I'll let Shane explain that a little bit.
Okay, so per the police agreement, he has the right to enter into a deferred retirement option plan. So Chief Apgar will remain as our chief of police until such time that he decides to officially, I guess, step away. He would be technically officially retired under pension terms. So that's what the drop is all about, is the pension deferred payment. And so we will adjust everything accordingly, understanding that the last possible day that Chief Apgar can work will be March 21, 2028. He can't work beyond that. But he could also at any point in time, he's technically eligible to retire as of March 20, 2025. So at any point in time, he could officially say, I'm retired. So that's how those terms work.
Shane, is there a amount of time they have to give us at notice?
Yeah, I mean, so in order for him to be guaranteed, other benefits, he has to give you an appropriate notice, which is not enough time to hire a new chief. It's like 2 weeks. I would, there's a lot of incentive for him to work the entire time period for them. But again, that's completely and utterly up to the chief.
And how many do we have in the drop program now? Is he the only one now?
2.
Two.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Borough engineers report, we have none. Solicitors report,
No report progress.
unfinished business part. Unfinished business part 1, we have none. Under new business, we have resolution 2025-1, and that is appointment of officials. I will read through this, read through the list. Be it heard, resolved by Emmaus Borough Council to appoint the following officials to their designated positions for a term expiring on January 5th, 2026. Acting Director of Emergency Services, Keith Miller. Ambulance Corps Chief, Adam Priest. Animal Control Officer, April Schill. Borough Manager / Secretary, Shane Pepe. Borough Solicitor, Gross McGinley. Certified Public Accountant, Campbell, Rappold, and Urist. Civil Service Commissioner Solicitor, Davison and McCarthy. Codes Director, Eric Furman. Codes Officer, Brent Reed. Deputy Police Chief, Brian Hampshire. Director of Finance / Treasurer, Christine Snyder. Earned Income and Local Services Tax Office, A.H. Berkheimer. Emergency Management Coordinator, Keith Miller. Engineer, Primary, Ott Consulting. Engineer, Utilities and Alternate, Hanover Engineering Associates. Fire Inspector, Ryan Crawford. Health Officer, Gary Ritter. Pension Consultant, Police and Non-Uniform, Conrad Siegel. Per Capita Tax Office, H.A. Berkheimer. Police Chief, Jason Apgar. Public Works Director, Lawrence Carl. Sewage Enforcement Officers, Jacob A. Schrey. Luke E. Eggert. Christopher A. Taylor. Paul Gallagher Saba. Special Labor Council, Campbell Durant, Betty Palumbo, and Miller. And our Zoning Hearing Board Solicitor, Ronald Corkery. Someone like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-1? Motion by Mr. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Labenberg. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 7 ayes. Unfinished business part 2, we have none. Does anyone have an item not on the agenda they'd like to bring forward? Hearing none. Committee reports. Public Works.
Mayor's
Wait,
report?
whoa.
Oh, Mayor's report. Sorry.
You skipped solicitor's report?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
But thank you for the concern, Madam Mayor.
Mayor's
Once and
report.
done.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. I have nothing to report. Progress.
Thank you. Committee reports, Public Works, Mr. Anders.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our first meeting is January 13th at 4:45. We will meet in person, but it will also be on Zoom. And with that, I will report progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation, and Codes, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 21st, 4:45 PM. I just have two questions. Do we have an update on the zoning ordinance and the timeline?
We
Or-
do. The reason you are not reviewing it tonight is the actual formatting for it. Every time we tried to address the formatting issues with the old Michael Baker forms, it kept deleting the drawings. We have found a way around that. That is actually going to be, you guys are going to be able to review that and send it to LVPC and the Planning Commission as of your next meeting, which will then trigger the 30 days and you will be able to vote for it as requested in February at your second meeting.
All right, thank you. With that, there was a concern that was brought to my attention, and I think also to Shane via email. It was, if you all remember, there's an ordinance that we have with opening of the road after it's reconstructed. One of the concerns is that with development and being more flexible to development, if a road gets reconstructed and we have the moratorium of 5 years of not opening that road, the issue is if somebody develops during that time of the 5 years, they should be able to open that road to get the utilities that they need. So it's a general concern. It's a 30,000 foot view concern that we would like to talk about at either Health, Sanitation, and Code, or possibly, because of the timeline, possibly Gen Ad would possibly take a look at it to move it along further. But again, it's not needed. It's just a topic. It's more, the principle of the idea is if we're spurring development or anything of that nature, it's just one object that we should look at. Okay. And then the last thing is Anytime Fitness. I spoke with Elliot, the gentleman that came to the podium. He said that he submitted a envelope. I haven't since talked to Mr. Borough Manager. I haven't talked to you since then, or Mr. Solicitor. I haven't talked. Did he submit an envelope with details?
Yes, he did.
I sent that to the solicitor as soon as it came in.
Okay, so we'll probably take a look at that in this first Health, Sanitation, and Codes meeting. But besides that, that's it, Mr. Chairman. That's all I got.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Anyone have any questions? Next up is Parks and Recreation.
Yes, I have that, Mr. President. Thank you. We do have one thing on the agenda this evening, and that is the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use and Rental Policy. We have amended the policy to include certain fees for non-refundable or refundable deposits, and also some rules as far as trash being picked up and left, and what fines could occur there. Shane, am I missing anything else on that?
No, yeah, essentially it's a refundable down payment. And then it establishes the rules by which you could forfeit that payment if you trash the pavilion, which has been an increasing problem
Correct.
in the summer. So you guys dealt with that.
Our employees were incurring additional cleanup costs the following day, and basically they would be using a half a day or so just cleaning up pavilions that were left in disarray after rentals. So we put this policy in to try to correct that and ensure that we are able to get the costs back associated with those cleanups.
I think you also put in the fishing derby rules for those types of events.
Yes, that was in there.
Were in there as well. I think those were the highlights. Everything else had already been pre-established rules.
So with that, I would like to put in the form of a motion to pass the Parks Recreation Facilities Use and Rental Policy.
Motion by Mr. Anders. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Brown. Discussion?
Yeah, I support it. I understand why we got to do it. I just think it's excessive, but I know we got to do it. And it's, 6 pages. Somebody wants to rent a pavilion. You don't really want to read 6 pages of rules and regulations, but I understand why we're doing it. We got to cover every aspect. When you talk about glitter and all the details, I don't know if we had to be that detailed, but I get it.
Yeah. So the problem is these
I know.
the new thing today is having these major parties for gender reveals, and they think that like the glitter bomb going off in our pavilion is cute until we're out there cleaning up the entire park.
No,
the
I
next day
totally
because
get
it
it.
blew everywhere. I mean, it is an increasing problem for us. So the other part of it is it's not 6 pages of pavilions. It includes the baseball field rentals.
Well, I know it's 8 pages, but
yeah.
I subtracted that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, I included the park rules because that's everyone. So anyhow, I support it. I just wish we didn't have to go that detailed, but totally understandable because if you don't have it there, somebody's going to fight it.
Yeah, and again, I'd say about 85% of this had already been in the rules, but you're right. Like, it's all off the read.
I just wanted to say, I mean, I support this overall. I would suggest Parks and Rec maybe consider the section on pavilion refunds because currently for 100% it requires a 60-day notice, which seems substantial, and a 30-day notice for 50% refund, and you don't get refunded if there's weather conditions. So
Yeah,
you
so
can't
that-
really check weather conditions.
No,
and
and that's a great point. That's not something that we even discussed. That was already in the rules, but I think that's absolutely something that they should visit.
for pavilion
Yeah.
rentals in particular.
Yeah.
They're usually weather dependent. So
So change, should we still pass
I
that
would,
or should we?
yeah, it was already part of your rules.
Okay.
So
You can later amend it.
We can later amend it. Thank you.
and remember this. So this isn't an ordinance. This can be amended and changed as council pleases. So if you come back in 2 weeks and say, "Hey, we want to amend these sections," you're able to do that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 7 ayes.
And the committee notes from December 19th are attached. The next meeting is tentative actually it is scheduled, January 16th at 4:45 with a to be named committee chairperson. Thank you. I'll report progress.
Thank you. Public safety, Ms. Baumgartner.
thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing for official action. Our meeting is scheduled for January 8th at 9 a.m. Report progress.
Thank you. General Administration, Mr. Levenberg.
Thank you. We have the 2025 Employee Safety Committee appointments, and I'll read it as follows. 2025 Employee and Volunteer Safety Committee, Administration Shane Pepe, with alternate Christine Snyder. Term began March 6th, 2012, and it's no end date or no end to the term. Codes and Zoning, Brent Reed, alternate Eric Furman. Term begins 1/1/24. Also, that term does not end. Police, Joseph Longenbach, alternate Vince Morante. Term beginning January 1, 2025, expiration of the term 12/31/26. Fire, Tom Carl with an alternate of Chris Lubineski. Term starting 1/1/25, ending in 12/31/26. Ambulance, Laurie Barry, alternate Cara Beery. Term beginning 1/1/25, expiration 12/31/26. Public Works, Jeffrey Kratz with a alternate of Tyler Llewellyn. These are all 1/1/24 with expiration of 12/31. Oh, no, they're not. The next two are 12/31/25. And then you got clerical Teresa Pullman and alternate Sherry Palinkas. Term starting 1/1/24, expiration 12/31/25. And then do we have to include the meeting dates?
No.
That's just informational. Okay, so place that in a form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Lavenberg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Baumgartner. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 7 ayes.
We meet next Wednesday, 9 a.m. here in probably the conference room. All right, 9 a.m. Progress.
Thank you. Next up is Budget and Finance, and tonight for official action, we have Resolution 2025-2, which is the bill list. The bill list is follows. We have a bill list of $432,832.51. We have payroll 26 of $210,975.94. Payroll taxes of $73,557.75 for a grand total of $717,366.20. Someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lavenberg, seconded by Ms. Watt. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 7 ayes. Also, in our packet is the significant revenue and expenses. There is one thing I'd like to point out on the checklist, and that is I saw that a council member donated their salary to the library. I'd like to thank that person. I think that's pretty significant, knowing that we cut a pretty big part of their, not a big part, but we actually cut a portion of their budget this year. So I thought that was very nice. Anyone else have? Our next meeting is going to be January 15th at 11 a.m. And with that, I'll report progress. Community Relations Planning and Development, Ms. Watt.
Our next meeting is tomorrow, January 7th at 4:45, in person here at the conference room and on Zoom. Progress.
Thank you. We have nothing under boards and commissions. Personal appeals part 2. Does anyone in our audience have a personal appeal? Seeing none. Does anyone online, any of our online guests have a personal appeal? We're going to ask to unmute yourself. I'll ask one more time if anyone online has a personal appeal. Now's the time to unmute yourself. Hearing none. Borough Manager's report.
So a couple things today. First, we hired Michael DePro as a part-time firefighter. He'll be able to fill in some of the voids that we have in the evenings and on the weekends. We've also terminated the employment of an EMS employee, Aaron Werntz. I can fill you in on the details at a later date. We've also appointed Jermaine Hussett as the group leader in the Public Works Department. He'll be taking over the Parks piece. We're very excited about this. As you know, we interviewed earlier in the fall, and Jermaine is going to attempt to fill the very large shoes of Jason Kleckner, who retired on Friday. And Jason worked here longer than some of us have been alive, and dedicated most of his career to the parks.
36 years?
36 years.
36.
And so we wish him the best. He has a lot of plans to go fishing. I know that was like priority one was, I think he's probably went fishing today. And yes, he would fish in the snow. If you know Jason, that's a passion of his. So very excited for him. The last thing I have for you is I need an approval. Charles or CJ, as some of you know him by Wesh, has fulfilled his probationary period successfully. So we just need a motion to approve retaining him as a full-time employee.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lavenberg, seconded by Mr. Anders. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? 7 ayes.
Other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, or I report progress.
Next up is President's Business, and I think our first thing here would be to discuss our committee structure. I think if everyone would be in favor or not opposed to it, I would step down as Chair of Budget and Finance and become Chair of Parks and Rec, and we would allow Mr. Dufresne to be the Chair of Budget and Finance. I think with his financial background, I think that would only be natural to allow him to have that position and shine. And I would hop on Parks and Rec. I have 4 years prior experience on Parks and Rec, and fairly passionate about that. And I think it's the least disruptance that we can create to be able to have Chris in a position where he could his skills can thrive for our residents.
Then he would also serve on what?
He would also then serve on
Public Works.
CRD and Public Works. We would maintain what Mr. Honscheid was on. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but if there's nobody opposing that, I would put that into effect immediately. Chris, how are your feelings on that?
I have no problem with that. I would obviously have to check my calendar right now because but
Yep.
most of the time, those times work for me. So I have no problem with the committee
Okay.
assignments. You just might have to change a meeting in the beginning or something.
Perfect.
What's that?
I said perfect.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna do then. We'll restructure that stuff.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Just Shane, in the years past, we had all the committees and their meeting dates on a sheet of paper or an email.
You'll get them. Yeah. So you should have.
I haven't received it yet. I just want to make sure. Can you
should
get
have
that
been
to?
getting emails though with all the
Calendar
invitations
invites.
of all of your meetings.
Well, that's on the counter. If I could have a separate one with.
We'll put a
with-
sheet together for you.
Thank you. I appreciate like past. Thank you.
The next thing would be a request that at our next council meeting, that everyone dresses nice, and that's when we will take our official picture of our new council. Now that we have a new council member, I think that we should probably update our photo.
Can't you just get his picture out of the old one and just put?
I mean, we did literally trade a Chris for a
Just
Chris,
Photoshop
right?
it.
I look 8 years younger in that other one.
Yeah.
Okay with that.
I would. I mean, what are your feelings on that, guys?
That's fine. We just got to stand here and somebody clicks it.
Yeah. So we'll take a picture.
I mean, we're not.
We'll take
some
a
of us
picture
aren't
at the end of, I guess we could do it in the beginning of the council meeting, depending on time or the end. We'll do that. And the next is make sure you start working with Shane and some of your department heads to make sure that we get our 2025 goals established. And, as you guys know, most of our work is done at the committee level. So, let's work really hard. I think that we all have a bunch of things that we need to continue from last year. And there's also some good initiatives that we're going to follow and go after this year. If anyone doesn't have any questions, I'm going to report progress on. We don't have an executive session tonight. Is there a motion for adjournment? Motion by Mr. Dufresne. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Baumgartner. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:25.